Hello everyone, it is me, it's REHMB, and today I'm going to be talking about the Cantor's infinity or the infinity level hierarchy explained in Marvel and why it is not a contradiction or a contradictory statement. Now originally I got into this argument with someone on Comic Vine, and again, this isn't to insult the individual. They may be good at mathematics and using other resources, but again, this shows that if you're not adversed in critical thinking, you can actually miss a lot of valid points, especially if, well, how do I say, reading comprehension is not at the highest level. And again, this isn't to insult any individual, but again, if you're not educating yourself at that level or degree, you can run into a lot of problems and you can end up being the one who's appealing to ignorance instead, trying to sound like you know something when you really are missing the actual evidence. But that's not just a Comic Vine user. There was also an article written about this by a man named Roy T. Cook, who also talked about false mathematics in the comic book fiction. I'm going to go ahead and explain it to you. Moreover, I'll leave the link in the description below in case you want to also view it yourself. But let's go ahead. He literally actually puts the scan itself, and let's look at the scan. So as you can see, Kubik himself says, consider then the set called whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Is it not infinite? Cosmos responds, obviously. Then consider the set called the even numbers, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So how long is it? Why, infinite, of course. Half of infinity is still infinity. And the same would be true for the set of odd numbers. Of course, both sets are infinite, yet the set of whole numbers contains both subsets and therefore is twice as large as either subsets alone. You probably missed it, didn't you? The whole notion is that he uses the term subset, but a lot of people miss that point, and this is why you get this entire article. You get this article written because they're missing the point. If you pay attention, he says thus are demonstrated two levels of infinity. There are, of course, an infinite number more. This isn't false mathematics. It's simply an attempt to express a higher order of magnitude for greater infinities. And guess what? He is right. You might be wondering how, but let me give you an example. You have an infinite set of red squares, an infinite set of blue squares. Okay, well, they're both infinite, right? They can be bijected on a one-to-one correspondence. And even if I put an infinite set of red and blue squares, they still can cardinally be bijected, right? But you see, that's not the point. The point is the group below has red and blue squares. What the other set doesn't have is what this set does have. It's not about cardinality because the universe is not just made up of cardinal numbers. Even when I was getting into the argument on Comic Vine, the user I was in question and arguing with didn't really know what to say. They said, well, as long as it can be equated to a cardinal number, it could still be bijected. I'm like, not necessarily. What is infinite temperature like when it's positive versus infinite temperature when it is negative? Absolute zero versus a billion degrees Kelvin? Why can temperature be increased so drastically but can't be decreased too much? Because even if you decrease it, what has really changed? Does it affect the boundaries of time? Without us understanding what it affects, infinite degrees Celsius minus doesn't tell us anything compared to 100 billion degrees Kelvin. Do you understand what I'm saying? So again, the behavior of an object or how the universe or the laws of physics behave isn't indicative primarily to the number, especially since most of these numbers are just numeric values we assign to it. We humans give value to it, just like the concept of time. We give value to time because we create a unit of measurement, the phenomena of numbers. Now granted, I get where most people are coming from. This is just to explain that, yes. And I guess to give you a better clarification of what exactly Kubik is talking about, it has to also do with powers, hacks, levels of authority. And let me give you another example. The final example I'm going to do before we conclude the video is, let's say your parents. Your mother has infinite control over all of space, and your father has infinite control over all of time. But your grandfather has an infinite control over space and time. There, now you understand. That's the whole notion. Controlling all infinite space is impressive, and controlling all infinite time is, but controlling space and time, that is way more impressive, and thus shows he has twice the amount of hacks or abilities than they do. He has two infinities that he can control, thus twice the infinity. That's what Kubik is talking about here. He's not talking about cardinal numbers by themselves laid out on a sheet or a grid for mathematics that can be corresponded through bijection or injection or surjection. That's not the point. The point is simply comparing the different levels of authoritative power that can be controlled by an individual and how those powers can be grouped or into different subsets. I hope you guys understand this, and if you have any questions, just ask in the comments below. This has been Atari HMB, and this is why Marvel's Infinity is not false mathematics. Thanks for watching. I'm signing off. Peace.